Hey guys, it's Beth, and today I just wanted to jump on and kind of share with you the cards I've made so far from the Christmas paper in my All Seasons 3 pad. I decided to focus on the rustic paper first. So like there's 7 patterns here, kind of in that rustic theme. And I don't know why, but I really struggled on getting started with these. Like I said, I don't know why, because I was excited to be on the last section of this pad. I was excited to work with Christmas papers, and I just could not get myself going. So I decided to kind of work through some of the techniques that I use to get myself going. And I started with something easy, something fun. So I found a file in my Silhouette for a little Christmas bow. And so I put a full sheet of this 12 by 12 or full 12 by 12 sheet of this red and white stripe in, and just, let it cut out all the layers. So there's 3 layers to it. I don't know if you can see 2 big layers, and then there's a smaller layer. And then this one actually only has 2 layers because the third layer, the smaller layer, didn't cut very well. Like there's one point that totally ripped off. Probably could have still rigged it and used it, but I think it's fine. And then I just used a big brad from my stash to kind of act as the center and kind of help hold it together. So those were fun. I had a lot of fun, putting those together, and was still stuck. Not sure where to go next. Then I remembered that I hadn't done Call Me Crafty Owl's June sheet load sketch yet. Because June was her first month of putting them out, and I didn't see it until July. So I printed June, but I hadn't used it yet. So that would be an easy way to get several, a lot of cards made, use up a good amount of paper, and then hopefully by the time I was done, my juices would be flowing and I could get going. So if you haven't heard of Call Me Crafty Owl's sheet load of cards process yet, you definitely need to try it. Each month she puts out a new card sketch, the supply list, and even a cut list of all the pieces you need to make at least 6, usually 6 to 12 of the cards in her sketch. So I took her sketch and turned it horizontal because that worked better for the cards that I had. And then I used up probably most of this red chevron with the snowflakes made out of the words snow. So that was good. Used up a good portion of this chevron with all the Christmas words on it. And then used some scraps that I had of that plaid. So I got 12 cards out of that. So that was awesome. Kind of felt a little bit better about getting the rest of these cards made, but still wasn't sure where to go next. So again, trying to keep it easy. That pattern with the chevron and the Christmas words, I felt like the words kind of got lost when you cut them down. So I decided to go do like a note card style. And so in this case, I left like a 1/4 inch border of my craft card base. All of my cards are A2. So 5.5 by 4.25. So in this case, I just cut the mat down to 4 by 5.25. And then just dress it up a little bit with some strip scraps I had of that plaid, and then my sentiment. Just got a handful of those. And then I pulled out Freshly Made Sketches number 226. And I had like 2 full sheets of this December 25th square pattern. And so I decided to use that kind of as my mat. I had a lot of strip scraps left of this chevron, like the wood grain chevron. So I just used whatever size. You can see there's a difference in thickness of some of these strips. I just used whatever size strip I had, and then just pulled out some Christmas stickers. They're like the size of a postage stamp of Santa, and then added those in a sentiment. Still trying to use up that December 25th square. So this is Operation Right Home, sketch number 44. And just used a red cardstock card base this time, or card mat this time. And then again, used up some scraps I had of that white chevron. So whatever size I had was what I used for the strip that goes behind. So that finally used up most of that December 25th paper. And then I used Operation Right Home sketch number 59, which is funny because these are almost the same, just slightly different, those sketches. But then I was trying to use up this red and white stripe. And I think I had a full sheet left. So I kept the color scheme of these cards like it's just simple red, white, and craft. So I did about 6 of those, and then also used this sketch to just kind of use up some of the other scraps that I had. So whatever size strip I had, I just used, and then whatever size I had for this element in the middle, that's what I used. So there's a bunch of different variations. Some on cardstock. And then this guy was a total experiment. I, for some reason, had a hard time finding a good green to kind of go well with the greens in this round of paper. And so this bright green worked, but it was so bright. I don't know, like I didn't love it with the rustic paper, so I whipped out my sandpaper and decided to see if I couldn't rustic up that green cardstock. So this is what it looks like normally, and then I sanded it essentially. So yeah, that's just an experiment just to see what would happen. And then the last card sketch I used was CPS 217, and that's because I was cleaning up everything, trying to organize the scraps I had left, and uncovered 2 larger pieces of these 2 patterns, and they're my favorite. That plaid and then the polka dots were my favorite out of all of these patterns, and so I decided to use them, like as much of them as I could on this card, and then just kind of broke up the red and green a little bit with that tree punch. That's my favorite card. And then using up the scraps I had left, these were just a bunch of strips. Then I kind of got into whatever size scraps I had left. And then this one, I had these strips. They weren't long enough to cover, you know, like the vertical space of the card. Or, you know, and I could have grouped them in the center, but I didn't like how that looked. They were too big to put on another piece of cardstock and then use as a focal element, and I was too lazy to cut them down. So I took my corner punch and rounded the corners of the top piece and the bottom of the bottom piece, and then just spaced them out. And then there was a strip of green cardstock kind of in my scrap pile, and so I just used it to fill in the gaps. Then added my sentiment, and then this green bow with the ball is from the Dollar Tree. So I did 2 of those. One with the green bow, one with the red bow. So I got 47 cards this round out of this paper. And I did, I believe it was the July sheet load sketch. I also used this paper, so that's another 12. So that's like 49 or 59 if I can do math, which I can't do very well today. So got a lot of cards out of this paper, and then on this round I also used all craft cardstock from my card bases, and then a lot of my matte layers. So I think I went through almost a whole 50 sheet pack of craft cardstock. But then with the scraps that I had left, I made tags. Clear some space. See if I can zoom you in a little bit. So the first 4 were, I cut these at the same time I cut my bows. So like I said, I just put in a full 12 by 12 sheet of the bow or the red and white stripe, And whatever space wasn't taken up by the bow parts, I filled in with like the little mittened tag shape and then the ornaments. And then I came back at the end and cut some craft matte pieces for it since this paper is so thin. This one I felt it like it needed something on it, so I just added the green stars. And then this one I did the cuff of the mittens in green, and that's it. So those are pretty easy. And then I got a whole bunch of other tags as well. A lot of them I just used scrapped craft cardstock, and then the scrap papers, and then either stickers or stamps. Those are some little bitty ones. And I got some medium-sized ones. So just layered a bunch of the scraps on them. And the tags I either punched, used my angle chomper on the top, or used my silhouette. And this one I actually had like a little red layered poinsettia in my stash. And then that one, I used a couple little red flowers to kind of look like a poinsettia. So this one, I had punched a tree out of this paper. I was going to use it on a card and didn't. So I decided to use it on a tag. And then I also still had the negative piece from it. So I made a little tag with that as well. And then here's the last two. So I got 17 tags with the scraps, and I still had some strips left, and so I decided to go ahead and cut down those strips. I got 6 little strips that I can use as wrappers for when I do my Hershey Nugget packs. I haven't bought the bags of the little Hershey Nugget bars yet. Figured I'd wait till closer to craft show time. But I went ahead and cut down enough for one pack out of this paper, and then I also cut down my card base, or my base for the holder. I've scored it, I just need to fold it. And then we'll probably add some kind of decoration to it. And then this is what I had left that I didn't use. So, and I actually had a bunch of these cut because they were going to go on the inside of these cards, and for some reason I cut twice as many as I needed, and then I didn't end up using them. So that is Christmas card round number 1. I still have this section here with the cream, black, and red, and then I also have the winter papers left. Luckily, there's not as many papers or sheets, full sheets left in both of these sections, so hopefully I can get through them a little faster. My goal is still to be done with this pad by the end of August, which I know is the end of this week. So I'm going to be pushing hard these next few days and hopefully try and crank through the rest of these, because I need to be done with this. Just mentally I need to be done, and then I need to be done because there's other stuff that I need to do. I want to do before craft show season. So I want to start September on a fresh, clean note with a new pad. And yeah, so if you guys have any extra crafty thoughts or mojo that you want to send my way, I will gladly accept them. But hopefully I will be back later this week with an update on the rest of the cards. If you have any questions on anything, let me know. I will include a link to Call Me Crafty Al's channel so you can get information on the sheet load sketch process if you don't already have it. And all of my sketches will also be, the sketches that I used will also be linked in the description box as well. But I thank you guys so much for your time today, and I hope you have a crafty rest of your day.